Hey, welcome everyone. I'm Pat Mitchell. Joining me this morning is Adam. We're going to be talking about doing a follow-up video to my video titled This Stock Will Run 500% Immediately, LIDR. There's been quite a few comments. Of course there is. I always expect comments like that. But we're going to address the comments and a lot of people's concerns that may either still be holding this stock and just showing you, patience is just one of those things that a lot of new traders just don't possess. They want to freak out immediately. I had people freak out immediately on the very first day. Talking and discussing this stock has a lot of potential. And that's what this title says. So I'm going to go into sharing my screen here quickly. Hang tight. Just one quick sec here, folks. I know how everybody is super impatient. So that's the title of this. This stock will run 500% immediately. And what I think a lot of people have a hard time with as well. And I want to pull up, where did that go? One sec. I'm just going to pull it up again. Had a comment here this morning that's always rather interesting. Now, number one, this Chad guy, he's been following me for years. He's an absolute knucklehead. He really is. Every single comment I could pull up on a video and make a video on his comment, just doing exactly what new traders shouldn't be doing. But he writes, stock will run 500% immediately is the title of this. Apparently not. Hate that I told a couple of friends this. So obviously I laughed at that. But the interesting thing about, what he wrote is, I don't like, do people understand how the internet works? It's no different than any media out there. There needs to be something that is clickable. And then after getting that clickable, whatever, you need to click on it, you actually need to watch the video. And watching this video that you guys see right here, it's got a lot of views and it gives you a full detailed trade plan. Now, this full detailed trade plan, if you actually watch it back, it literally did every single move that I talked about it doing. In fact, the very first day, and we're going to get into the LIDR charts here, might as well just pull that up now. It produced on that first day, which was this big pop day, it produced 40% from the entry that I gave you guys. 40%. Now, to me, I don't know, but 40% is a gift. Now, where the comprehension comes in, where I think a lot of people do lack comprehension out there, it's apparent on social media, is the word potential. Does this stock have the potential to go 500%? Yes, absolutely. Does it mean it's going to happen in the first day? No, of course not. This is a swing trade, right? So I think that that's one thing that a lot of people are missing. And before we dive into the charts, I actually want to talk with Adam here because Adam has a unique perspective that I think can give you guys a lot of insight. Adam is fairly new to trading. He came into trading during COVID, and we've discussed a lot of the reasons why he was looking for a different way. And what I want to ask Adam here is, okay, let's go back years ago where you first started trading. What was your mentality like? Was it similar? Well, maybe not similar to Chad's there, but you get the point I'm trying to make. As a new trader, I'm sure you possessed a lot of those attributes. And the reason why I say that is because that's how I was too at the beginning of trading. And we're going to go over the charts here in a minute, guys. So just hang tight because I'm going to give you an updated trade plan on this. This thing is still in play, guys. This thing has not broke trend. It is not broke stop. This thing is still good to go. The potential for this is still massive. I'm still in. I'm in with about 20,000 shares. Obviously, I'm paying myself on pops. I've already locked in thousands of dollars for those that watch my trade recaps. You can see that I've already locked in money on this trade, and you should have too, but if not, that's fine. I got your back, and we'll go over an updated trade plan. But to throw it back to Adam here, I just want to get your perspective of how you used to think to the way you think now, and maybe that'll help some of these traders relax a little bit.
Yeah, well, thanks, Pat. So, how I thought about not just trading as a new trader, but also life in general. I was a very rewards focused person. I've always been a very hard worker, but I really wanted the payout,
Yeah.
and my focus, especially when it came into trading, that just got amplified. And so I would always see the upside of these trades. And that's where my mind would be. And it's like, but the biggest problem I had is I had no plan. It's like everything was, oh, it's here. I think it's going to go there because I can imagine in my mind it's going to go there. So I entered the trade, and then nothing I expected happened would ever happen, right?
Yeah.
Because I was just reward focused. I imagined an outcome that I wanted, I justified the outcome, and then I took highly unplanned action, and I got poor results. Imagine that.
Yeah.
And so in that regard, how has my perspective changed since then? Well, it's been longer than anyone would expect, even for someone like me who does put in a lot of hours of work. But work does not equal proper mindset, and
Right.
part of being at Trig Trades has been don't mistake work or busy work for actually
Productive work.
the real
Yeah.
work,
Yeah.
which is finding out what you have to change about your behaviors, finding out where you are giving yourself um, the wrong ideas about what it is that you have to do to get what we want. And what's kind of slowly evolved over time is I realized I was living, we can use the charts as an analogy. I was living by the minute by minute candle.
Yeah.
And so when the candle's up, and Pat, you were teaching about this just the other day about green is good and red is bad. So in a very similar way on the minute by minute, you know, I'm living a good life, I'm living a bad life. I'm living a good life, I'm living a bad life. So
Hmm.
the chart didn't go to 500%, bad life. If the chart went to 500%, good life.
Yeah.
And what being a student of yours has helped over these years is has really shifted from looking at life more as the daily candle or the daily chart in bigger chunks of time. And it's funny because if in our charting tools, you can look at something by the minute, by the 5 minute, 15 minute, and all the way up to weeks and months and so on. Just as an exercise, look at the chart by the minute and move it to 5 minute, and it slows down. It gets calmer and there's less emotion. You go to the 1 week, well, you'll just sit there all week and nothing will happen. And
Yeah.
you'll have absolutely zero emotional fluctuation. And so the training that has been happening over this time is to reduce the emotional fluctuation and keep our eyes on the big picture. And then you have so much more power, so much control, so much more perspective. And I'm still a student, I'm still learning these things. But to answer your question, those are some of the big shifts that have happened since we started this journey together.
Yeah. And I think the biggest takeaway from that is the trading analogy of a lot of people are living their lives and they're trading as well on the intraday 1 minute chart. That's how they're
Mhm.
looking at things.
Very emotional, up
Very
and up.
emotional. It's up, it's down. There's big peaks, big valleys, there's swings. There's a lot of range on the 1 minute intraday chart.
Mhm.
If you start looking at things from a daily chart perspective, not literally but figuratively, if you start looking at a bigger picture idea or a bigger, wider view, right, of things,
Mhm.
you're going to start to calm down. And just like Chad there, he's looking at things from a 1 minute chart. So let's go back into the charts. Let's discuss this trade a little bit and what has happened so far. Okay, so again, just bear with me really quickly. So going into LIDR's chart, again, this was the very first day. Now, it was right at that squeeze potential. That squeeze is potential. It doesn't mean it has to. It's a matter of how many shorts are in fact going to get freaked out. Now, I was watching it on this day on the 1 minute, and we'll pull up the shorter time frame here in a sec. But what you can see when you're looking at the daily chart, it popped, it just broke that high. It started to squeeze. In fact, all it needed on that day, that one day where it popped like that, and it produced 40% gain, okay, from an entry that I gave you like dead nuts 40%. In fact, I think it was 39% or something like that. But regardless, we're calling it 40 fucking percent. With that, it is your first day. If it would have squeezed, broke highs on that day just one more time, that's when the ball would get rolling. The amount of shorts that continue to pile in on these stocks, it's a process. It's an if-then scenario with these types of stocks. Now, again, I'm not making excuses. Do I want it to go to 500% in one day? Yes. But immediately, what I find very interesting, and Adam and I were kind of chuckling about this because I kept sending them screenshots of comments and they were coming in first thing in the morning. The market just opened. It was only a couple hours later, and you have people freaking out in this position already. At that point, it was still up like 30% on the day or something like that. And from the entry, where a lot of people, and it's funny, somebody came into one of our webinars that we did, a free webinar that we did, and he asked about LIDR. And then we asked what his entry was. Well, his entry was at 450. He chased the living shit out of this stock. He didn't listen to the trade plan, and he bought it as it was coming up. You can't do that. If you miss the play, you miss the play. And if you look now, you're missing a perfect low risk entry where it is right now. Now, the first day, 40%. The second day, it produced 30%. There's multiple days where the swings from low of day, which was an entry, it bottom ticked a level that I gave, okay? And it gave 20% on top of that. So 40 plus 30 is 70, plus another 20 is 90. This is produced in total just about 100% gain day over day over day. If you are following that trade plan, it does not need to give you 500% in one day. Now, I'm not saying that the trade plan was to trade it multiple days like that. But what I'm telling you is if you're actually a skilled trader and you're looking at things correctly, there's money everywhere. I've made nothing but money on this stock. Has it done much? Not really. It hasn't done much yet. But let's look at the chart now. So again, if you take a look at this trend, this was an important trend, this upper trend. That's an area here. I just want to get my mouse back. So this trend here is super important. That's still holding. In fact, now, and I reworked this lower trend, this trend was actually up a little bit and it was right in and around this lower blue level. Well, I've reworked the trend to the lower bottoms of these green candles. It is still holding that trend. Do you see how it's working that trend? All it is doing is flagging back. I'm sure some of even the most elementary and beginner of traders understand what a flag is. This stock is purely flagging. So let's talk about the mechanics of a flag. The mechanics of a flag are due to chasers, okay? People like you that chase this stock like an animal, not waiting for a proper entry. As it starts coming down, their emotions as retail dumb money traders will start freaking out. Oh, it didn't go. I better get out. And they bail on these positions. They are small volume positions because it's retail money. And that's what it does day over day. Oh, it didn't go. I better get out. Oh, I'm going to give it one more day. I better get out. And that's how flags are produced. That is the actual mechanics of the charts, how charts in fact work. And this is where a lot of you need proper education in these trades. I am in no way, shape, or form even remotely concerned about this. This is a good thing. All it does is allow me to increase my average while it is still holding trend. Does it need to work? No. As I stated in this very video, if you actually watch it, I tell you, and in fact, at the end, I beg you not to take large size in this. If it doesn't work out or it takes longer and it wants to come back to the lower entry, which is where it's at now, and into that stop zone, you got to be prepared for that. You can't be so underwater in the position that you feel like you're fucked and you're trading emotionally. If you do that, you're screwed, guys. And I said that in this video. So that's what's really frustrating and actually confusing, because Even on the first day, second day, third day, as this thing is still going, everything it's doing is still a part of the trade plan. There's a plan for this, guys. I've given you multiple scenarios and multiple entry areas, and that's what it's done. So now I want to talk about where I think this stock is going, because I'm sure a lot of you would like to know. Does it have to do what I'm about to say? Of course not. And I think that that's where a lot of traders do miss the point. And before we get into that, I think I want to discuss that a little bit because it is really important. Where a lot of traders really fail is they think, number one, they think that these stocks need to work on their timeline. Like on day one, we got a bunch of comments and a bunch of messages. What do I do? What do I do? What do you mean, what do you do? Follow the fucking trade plan. It's day one. Like it's ridiculous, fear-driven mentality that a lot of you, obviously, I mean, I could pull up the comments. I'm not going to, but I could. I don't want to put a bunch of people on blast that might just be a little bit, other than Chad. Chad deserves to be blasted. If you guys only knew the half of it. Anyways. But a lot of you out there that were freaking out in that first day, you're just very underskilled, undertrained, and underqualified to be trading stocks. You've put no time in it, and you're just throwing money at shit. It's like throwing shit up against the wall and seeing what sticks. You can't be doing that. You will lose, and you're going to lose big. This is why 90, more like 98% of traders fail. It's that mentality. This really isn't that hard. It's about having your emotions under control and getting properly trained. That's what it is. It's like I've given this analogy a million fucking times. I've said it to death, but it's like being a first year med student, right? And it's week one, day one, week one. And they take you for a tour in the hospital, and because you're so fucking arrogant and ridiculous, you kick open the doors of that operating room and you yell at the nurse to give you a scalpel. You got this. It's ridiculous, but that's what a lot of you are doing. Relax and follow the plan. And another thing that traders are just absolutely, they do this all the time. They jump into shit. And I've talked about this in another video. They'll jump into, like, to you guys that just followed me, right? Just followed me. You don't know me. I'm a stranger to you, right? You don't know what my intent is. There are a lot of ridiculous, sadistic fucks out there that just want to see people lose. Now, I'm not that way. I don't want to see you guys lose. That's why I'm doing this follow-up video. I'm not going to run because this stock is pulled back a little bit and like never talk about it again. No, to me, this stock is still in play. It's still in session. So that's the type of person that I am. But you didn't realize that at the time, right? I'm a stranger to you. And you're throwing your hard-earned money without any type of research or other information. Maybe what a lot of you should have done is see how this play works out. Take notes on that video and the steps that I said it would do. Take detailed notes on it and then watch it back. Like, watch the play unfold. And if you did that, you would see it's actually done every single step, especially on that first day. It was flawless what I said it would do. It could get locked into a real tight zone, and I laid out those levels, and that's what it did. And then when it came back on another day when we had volume come in, it bounced right off that level. It remounted, it broke it by a bit, came back up and remounted it. Now, I took an ad there, and then when it squeezed up from there, I believe it was a 18 or 19% increase on that. I paid myself. You guys got to pay yourselves in these trades. It's a lot of mistakes that you guys are making. It's due to greed. That's what it is. Now, to go back into the charts here, and I know I'm flapping a lot because I've got a lot to say in a short amount of time, but
May I just add real quick, Pat,
Yep.
to that? Can you pull up the charts?
Yep. One sec.
Just from back to the beginner trader perspective,
Yep.
if I may. To me, there's a few things here that this really reveals if someone has taken this and they struggled with it. One is this chart on right now is a gift. This is a huge gift. because a master trader who evaluates tens of thousands of charts, who knows how many in the life of his career, he has spotted something special in this chart.
Mm-hmm.
And that means he's made money off this chart lots of times. This one may or may not work out. And if we're living life by the daily candle, not the minute candle, we're going to see that this is going to come up again and again and again. So let's just say you just met Pat and you saw this. There's nothing wrong with screenshotting this and just studying. Well, what do I see here? Pull this back and look at the whole history of this chart. What caught Pat's eye? Why is it special? Because this formation, these candle patterns, will happen on a million different tickers, because this is a very common place. I don't know how many times you've traded LIDR, but I'm sure you've taken this very same setup multiple times, right?
Right here.
So you have sat here in your own time and you studied this, and then you provide this free to the world. So forget the 500%. Look at this chart. This chart is 10,000% your money, because a master trader spotted a pattern that has made him a lot of money. So one thing to think about when you see something like this, don't even trade it. Watch what happens. Screenshot it day by day and study what he said on camera versus what happens as this chart unfolds, and just learn from what he's giving us. And then ask yourself, well, what's the plan as this unfolds? What if it does go 500%? What will I do? Do you have that written down on your chart in a line or on a journal? What if it fails on day one? What if are we asking ourselves all of these questions to understand, as responsible traders, this thing can do a million different things. Pat is giving us only one or two scenarios that could happen, which would result in 500%. So really be taking the time to break down the plan. Well, what if it goes 50%? What if it goes 9,000%? What if it goes 200%? These should all be questions that are answered ahead of time after watching Pat's video and getting his recommendations. So that's just what I wanted to add to that.
Well, what I want to point out with what I saw in this chart. Now, when I'm looking for charts, I'm not like combing through thoroughly. I hit my space bar on a list of US stocks. Okay. But this is how I do it. And I hit that space bar, like tap, tap,
I hope
tap,
everyone's
tap, tap.
listening.
And it flips through these charts super fast. Now, there's 3 or 4 different looks to a chart that I'm looking for swing trades, okay? This one has the biggest potential. I could show you multiple trades that I've alerted in my swing trading service. This is the exact look, and they always go. I've yet to have one not go. It may take a little bit longer than expected, but when it goes, that target gets hit and then some. The potential for this stock is far greater than 500%, guys. It really is. That's kind of just at the almost like the minimum. Now, I don't want you guys to like focus in on what I just said about 500% being the minimum and being, oh, that's fucking crazy. I'm telling you, these are the charts. So when I look at it, now that this chart is zoomed out, okay, I want you to look at it. Now,
And
I'm
how many
not
people
focusing
zoomed out?
on this. I'm not focusing on these previous peaks, okay? I want you to take a look at this look right here. That look right there is it. Now, it's hard to describe. That's the look. I want you to burn that into your minds, that is the look. What it's doing right there is something very different than it has done before. If you take a look at right here, that's an area that it starts having that look. It's a very similar look, isn't it? Look at it. It's the same thing. If you were to zoom in on that, it's the same look. It is a matter of time before this will squeeze out, okay? Because people get impatient. There's a lot of psychology to this chart, to this trade. That's why charts set up the way that they do. I could go back further on this chart and show you that this happens multiple times. This is the precursor to the big event. And what people are doing when they are, sorry. What people are doing in this is they are thinking very short term, number one. And number two, they're not focusing on where they should be focusing. So what I've just shown you is the look. Now, where do I go from that? Where do I go from that look? Well, we can see that it has popped. Then it flagged back. This thing is still holding trend. So what I'm going to be doing, in pre-market, it's still holding that previous close. It hasn't fallen. It continues to do so. Now, I want to take you into the 1 minute chart, and I'm going to show you something really, really interesting. Now, if you go back on these charts, you're going to see pre-market pops. What this looks like, okay, at first glances is it just looks like some retail trader like doing something stupid, like chasing it or something, okay? There's not enough volume for it to pop up on these guys' scanners, number one. Number two, it's not enough volatility to pop up on scanners. That's how most retail traders trade penny stocks, is through scanners, right? Now, I don't use scanners. And I can go back further, and there's actually something that I saw previous. There's a volume bar that makes no sense where there shouldn't be volume. That tells me that news is going to most likely come out and on LIDR. Now, again, hear my words, most likely come out. What it looks like is you have somebody starting to taper in on this. That's what they're doing. They're getting in where they can get in with being the least suspect. They're not taking huge amount of shares. And you're going to notice if you go through the volume on a day-to-day basis, there's anomalies on that volume. It tells me somebody is loading in. Somebody knows something. Now, the reason why I say that, and I have taken time saying this, is because if I were to ask every one of you one-on-one that are watching this video or watch my previous video, you would say, oh yeah, the stock market's rigged. It's manipulated. Okay, stop. Let's think about that. If it is manipulated and you agree that it's manipulated and rigged, why don't you believe it? Why don't you actually believe it and then find an edge to that? What I see a lot of people doing is they spout things, they say things, but then they don't think about it. They don't think about it at all. If you're admitting and saying and spouting off to your friends how manipulated the stock market is, but you don't believe it, you don't actually believe it, and try and figure out, well, how is it manipulated? This reeks of manipulation. Going back into the daily chart, again, it's amazing that this chart still has not broken down. Why? Why has it not broken down? It is being held up. It is waiting to go. That's what this is. When you see something flag back like this, and the beautiful thing about this, and this is why I believe the potential could even be more than, okay, more than that 500%. The way it's holding, it's never held like this before. It's usually a quick, just like these days. You see how these days are a 2-day sell-off, 3-day sell-off, hits, trend, bounces? This is very different. If you take a look at these candles, that look is different, guys. When something is different and it catches your eye, pay attention. Pay attention to that. There's something there. Do I know what it is? No, I am speculating what it is. Does this need to go 500% or more? No. I've seen this look probably, if I had to guess through the 10 years plus that I've been doing this, I would say I've seen this exact look on a chart 500-600 times, and I've acted on it maybe 20 times, and every single time it comes through. It may take time, but it does in fact come through. One of my largest swing trades to date, and maybe in the final follow-up video to this, I'll pull it up. That went over 1,000%. I believe it was 1,800%. If I remember correctly. It was one of the very first plays that I put on for Revolution Swing. So it's all documented. And it was a trade plan very similar to this. That is the potential of this setup. So if you're looking at this, wondering, well, what should I do next? This trend is really important. I want to see this trend hold. Now, if you take a look at where that trend is right here, okay, I should put a level there. One sec, guys. Okay, so this trend line right here, it depends on roughly how far back it wants to pull back. If it wants to continue riding this trend down a little bit further, I'm looking at this level here and potentially as low as this. Now, I will look for areas to get out some of my size. Today, if it wants to run up and give me 15, 20%, because I added in yesterday, I know I can get money out of it. I will. I will size down because it's flagging back. I will have an opportunity to add on confirmation. Where would I add on confirmation? Well, let's discuss this. If this pops and then let's say pulls back over a couple of days, this trend, this lower trend, guys, right there, I would add there. Once it breaks this high, it initiates the squeeze. Once it hits this volume zone, that's when it starts to really take off. This high won't matter too much anymore. There are a lot of shorts in this day. I could pull up a chart to show you and prove that, but they're in there. And there's a lot of them. Okay. They're shorting this back. They expect it to go to zero. They have not covered yet. Trust me on this. Shorts will not cover. I'm talking about big shorts. I'm not talking about you fucking little piss ants out there shorting with a couple few thousand shares.
Hey,
I'm talking actual fucking shorts.
Sorry to interrupt. One important thing here that maybe a lot of new traders might be looking at is this is another thing I used to do. Everything was all in, all out.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So what you're showing here on the screen is you don't wait for 500% for your whole position. And this is what's so critical to what you teach. You're paying yourself at very specific strategic points based on the chart, the language of the chart.
Yes.
You're pulling profits all along the way. And by the time it hits 500%, you've got, comparatively speaking, a much smaller amount of shares left than when you started. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. And that's how you last long in this game. You take the money when it's on the table.
Absolutely.
You don't wait to have all of your poker chips in the middle of the table and it's win all or lose all, right?
No, of course not. I've already made money on this. I've already made money on this stock. And that's the thing. When I say the potential of this is 500%, I'm going to make more than 500%. If I've already locked in 100%, if you add up on those, right, entries and exits, right, almost 100%, about 90%, okay? And then today, if it runs up 15, 20%, I'm going to be over 100%. By the time it hits that 500% mark, I'm probably, if you add up those gains day over day, I'm going to be close to probably 800, 900, 1,000% plus. That's what I'm doing. I'm not looking to go long, hold forever, wait for it to come in, and go 500 fucking percent before I pay myself.
That's what I think new traders will do.
That's what they're doing. I know that's what they're doing, judging by people's comments. It's like, you were given 40%, take it. That is money, man. That was money off of a free play. And I think that that's really important to point out for a lot of people out there that were complaining about this. Number one, they were pissing and moaning on the first day. That's crazy. It hasn't done anything yet. It's went 40%, but nothing's really transpired yet. It's such a short time frame. Number two, on the second day where it wants to sell off, or it gapped down actually a little bit pre-market and people started really freaking out. It's pre-market. Relax. Work a trade plan. You guys got to start following trade plans fully. This trade plan, I'm not even remotely sweating it. And I guarantee I've got a lot more size in it than you guys do. So relax. This thing, it hasn't stopped a guy out yet. When it's time to stop out, then you stop out. Then you reevaluate. Don't take this thing off your fucking watch list, guys. Don't do that. It is mark my words. Mark my words, what I'm saying right now. It is only a matter of time before this thing runs. Period. Even if you get stopped out on this play, don't disregard it. Watch for what I'm showing you to watch in those remounting areas. When it does that, get in. Get in. It's going to go. It is a matter of time. The market is all timing, guys. That's the one thing I don't control. Now, I don't control the timing. I can see the charts where the timing is getting real close. Sometimes, and like I said, on that first day, it still produced 40%. Next day, 30%. Those are good gains, man. I will take that. Why? Because I'm a professional trader and that's how I pay my fucking bills. I have to pay myself. People are looking at this from a hobbyist perspective. They're just trying to get rich on one fucking trade because they saw some jerk off on YouTube or social media that made $1 million in his trade, right? Like, cut that shit out. That's such nonsense. You will not last in this game. This isn't for hobbyists. This isn't for tire kickers. This isn't for people dipping their toes. This is for people that are adults and take things seriously. And if you're a guy like fucking old Chad there and you're pissing and moaning about a clickbait title, of course, it got you to click, didn't it? That's what I want you to do. Did you take the time to actually watch the video and listen to the direction? You didn't, did you? I guarantee it. Because if you did, you would have made money on this. Because everything I said that it would do, it has done. This stock it's not over. This still is absolutely in play. And when it does go, I will be a part of it. And that's up to you guys to be a part of it or not. So I think on that note, I'm going to wrap this one up. It is still in play. It is still in session. Watch those areas for stops. If it stops you out, so be it. Wait for it to remount those key levels. When it does, that squeeze will be in effect. Now, again, there are still plenty of shorts in this that I could pull up. I won't, but I could pull up. There are shorts in this. When those levels break, guys, it's off to the races. It's a matter of time. Timing's everything. Mixed with the manipulation that we are seeing on the chart and with the volume, there is something up. There's something up. It's up to you to be patient in the trade. If you're not patient with it, there's nothing I can do for you. You're going to get out. You're going to stop out on this before you were meant to stop out because you didn't listen to the trade plan. And then you're going to watch this thing go 500, 800, 1,000%. Now, obviously, that 1,000% is a huge, ridiculous projection. I get that. I'm just saying what the potential is in this chart. I've seen it. I've traded them. I've been a part of them. I've made my thousands of percent in trades very similar to this, which are all documented on Revolution Swing, my swing trading service. So it's all there, folks. So on that note, guys, I'm going to wrap this one up. I got a room to run here. And thanks, Adam, for giving us your perspective. I think that hopefully will help people if they're actually listening instead of thumbing through videos. Yeah, I think it'll really help because I've been there too, right? And I think a lot of people, it's just mentality. They need to shift their mindset. They need to understand what they're actually looking at, but very few people. There's the reason why 1% of people on this planet live a 1%er lifestyle, guys. There's a reason for that. And if you aren't currently living that 1%er type of lifestyle, and I'm not talking about yachts and all that shit and fancy cars. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about freedom, pure and simple freedom. If you aren't living that way, you need to work on your mentality because it is all there out there for the taking. Absolutely. I am living proof of this. For those that don't know me, go ahead and do some research and just take a look at the way I live. It is very different than the absolute majority of people out there. There's a reason for that. It's because I am always pushing. And I'm trying to pay that forward and give this sort of stuff to you guys back. But what doesn't help are the ones that piss and moan and where I don't want it to turn into where I just keep this for members because the members are actually trained. If your lack of training is preventing you from making money in plays like this, then maybe you should come get trained from a proper professional that can show you exactly where you messed up in this play because you should have captured 40% the first day, 30% the second day, and multiple 20s. So that's what I have to say on that. I'm going to do another follow-up video on this. probably next week, because I do believe that next week, because it's Friday, either it happens today or it happens next week. It won't continue to flag forever. So it is coming, folks. And when it does, I will be there to share the charts with you and share the trade. Thanks, Adam.
Hey, thanks, Pat. Really appreciate this. Thank you.
You bet. Later, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye.